Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James, the channel that brings you your team every single day. Guys, I'm going to start off with one frank admission, and I don't want to hear from anyone, it's only pre-season. I don't want to hear it. I just genuinely do not want to hear it. Yes, I know it's fucking pre-season. Yes, I know the season hasn't started yet. But have we realised that the season is now less than 10 days away? Have we realised that next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, we kick off the season against Hearts at Tynecastle, and it will not be a straightforward game. And I think we're probably closer to Hearts than we are to Celtic in terms of this squad as it presently stands. So to say, sit here and say, don't panic, don't get anything, it's only pre-season, is absolute, complete and utter crap. Because after watching that performance last night, after watching what was put out on that field by Rangers, by my team, by our team, by a team that's supposed to give a shit about the badge, that's supposed to give a shit about playing for the fact they play for one of the biggest clubs in world football, you know, and they quite clearly don't. They quite clearly couldn't give a flying what's it. I don't think I'm being harsh. I don't think I'm being unfair. In fact, let's hear what Leon Balogun. Let's read some quotes from Leon Balogun post-game about what he thought. This is what Leon Balogun had to say. Not good enough, quite frankly. Come here and play the way we did in the first half. You have to seriously question yourself. If you play for Rangers, you can't present yourself like that. Now, that's an experienced veteran player, someone who I have got huge respect for. Big Leon is a stalwart. Big Leon was probably one of our best defenders last season. Big Leon is a Rangers man to the core. He's someone who gets this club. He gets what it is to play for this club. He gets what it is to pull that jersey on, whether it be the white away shirt or the blue home shirt. He gets it. And this is what he says. Not good enough, quite frankly. Spot on, Leon. That performance was not good enough. And first half, there is not one single player for me that comes out of that first half with any credit whatsoever. Perhaps the only one will be Liam Kelly, who wasn't to blame for either of the goals. Second quote here. Come here and play the way we did in the first half. You've got to seriously question yourself. Absolutely you do. How dare you go out and play like that? How can you even think that that is good enough? How can you even think that is acceptable? And we'll get into why shortly. But spot on from Big Leon. And the final one that Big Leon makes about the whole game, if you play for Rangers, you can't present yourself like that. And I've heard stuff like, well, Birmingham were a good team. They're in League One, for God's sake. Yeah. They've just been relegated from the championships. They're not a high-flying championship team. They're not a championship team that were unlucky to be relegated. They're a League One team. They're an English third division team. They're not guaranteed to be promoted straight back up. Many a top team has gone down to League One and not come straight back up, despite how good they may have looked pre-season. So he's right. If you play for Rangers and you go out and you play like that, you can't, because this is Rangers. There are standards. There are expectations. When you pull on that jersey, you have, a tradition to uphold. And at the moment, the players are failing absolutely abysmally. Pre-season so far, Ajax 2, Rangers 1, Rangers 0, Man United 2, Birmingham 2, Rangers 1, played 3, won none, lost 3, drawn none, 4-2, only 1 goal from open play in those 2, and 6 conceded. Guys, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And I'll be honest with you, what kind of compounds it even more is the dead cat strategy that was then used post-game. And I'm going to get onto the game shortly. And I want to talk about some fundamental weaknesses in this team that need addressed ASAP. But Phil Clement used a classic dead cat strategy. Now, I never thought for a minute, I sit here, I've got a degree in history and politics. I never thought for a minute that I ever would bring Boris Johnson and British politics into a video about Rangers. But I'm going to. And I'm sorry if you hate the Tories and you hate Boris Johnson. Okay, it's not that I support them. It's not that I love Boris Johnson. It's just that the strategy that Clement quite clearly used post-match is a strategy that was dreamed up by Boris Johnson and his political advisor, Linton Crosby. This is the strategy. The dead cat strategy, also known as dead catting, is the political strategy of deliberately making a shock announcement to divert media attention away from problems or failures in other areas. Does this start to ring any bells with you? The present name for the strategy has been associated with former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's political strategist, Linton Crosby. Now, for me, read that last line of that first paragraph. To divert media attention away from problems or failures in other areas. And I think you can quite categorically say that last night there was a whole host of failures in other areas. But Phil Clement was absolutely brilliant in the way he diverted the attention straight away. And how did Big Phil divert the attention? By making the announcement about Todd Cantwell. Now, you're not telling me that Todd Cantwell came just this week or just in the last couple of days and said to Big Phil, I want to leave. I don't want to be at Rangers anymore. I want to transfer. This quite clearly happened a while ago. And why do I think that? Because he's been training with the first team for the last 2 weeks, right? He's been training throughout the preseason with the first team. When Big Phil was questioned about his injury, the fact of whether he was out, he said there are a few small things. He never said he was injured. He never said he was missing for personal reasons. He said few small things. Well, we now know what those small things are. The small things are that he doesn't want to be at Rangers anymore. That's what it is. Now, what did Big Phil say? He said that Todd has asked to leave the club. I spoke to him further and he then came back to me with the same request. He will remain training with the B team until he leaves. So we now know why Todd Cantwell played with the B team. We now know the reason being is because he wants to leave the club. Now, Big Phil then said also in his interview that he has an excellent relationship with Todd Cantwell, something I completely doubt, given the interactions between the two parties over the last sort of few months. Since the Aris Limassol game, after he was hooked up after half an hour. I think the truth of the matter is that Todd Cantwell doesn't fit Phil Clement's system. He doesn't fit Phil Clement's type of person that he wants at the club. He doesn't fit Phil Clement's type of player that he wants at the club. I think Phil Clement doesn't like the social media side of it. He doesn't like the character of Cantwell. Cantwell as a 10 is not the stay in the 10 role, go past the striker, use pace, goal threats, more like a second striker. Cantwell's very much an old school 10, very much a kind of, throwback 10 that wants to go out wide, wants to go left, wants to go right, wants to go in the middle, wants to drop back, wants to drop deep, wants to go everywhere on the field. And that's not what Clement wants. Clement doesn't want his 10 to do that. And for me, Cantwell doesn't fit that role. He's more of a maverick. He's a maverick player. He wants to do what he wants to do and wants to be a free spirit. A bit Gaza. I mean, he's not anywhere near as good as Paul Gascoigne, but very Gaza-esque from that aspect. Gaza was another player who wanted to go everywhere, roam everywhere, do everything, and be everything. Gaza wouldn't have fitted into Phil Clement's system. I don't think it comes as a major surprise that Todd Cantwell has come out and said that he wants to leave. I think it's sad. I think that, I like Todd Cantwell. I know he's got his weaknesses. I know he's got his faults. But then again, virtually all this squad have. I don't think there's a single player on this squad that has not got faults or weaknesses or a problem of some description. Even Jack Butland's made errors over the last few weeks and months of last season and this pre-season. Diamande has his issues. Conor Barron does. Dujon Sterling does. They all do. They all do. Big Leon does. Todd's obviously that he's not consistent enough on the park. He doesn't always produce the best. When he does produce the best, he looks a top class talent. And, if he could produce the Todd Cantwell we see perhaps 7 games out of 10, 9 games out of 10, or perhaps 10 games out of 10, we'd have an absolute world-class talent on our hands. He's that good. He really is that good, but he's just too gloriously inconsistent, makes some daft errors, some daft decisions, and that's what holds him back. And I think, the way to look at this now is, you look at the fact that Clement clearly wants to play with a 10. He wants to use a 10. I don't think any of the 10s we've got at the club kind of fit what he wants. You look, obviously, Cantwell wants to go. Hadji's going to be sold. Lowry looked awful today. I think, Clement kind of said that he needs more practice. He doesn't see a player there yet that's capable of stepping up into that 10 role. Lawrence is too slow. He's too dithersome. He's not quick enough for me to play as Clement wants to tend to play. So it leaves us with 4 10s, none of whom are good enough. Out of those 4 10s, Cantwell is probably the most talented, the most skillful. I'd put him above Hadji in terms of ability. Look, I've got no doubt in my mind that Cantwell will get a move to an English Championship club, that some English Championship club who pay decent wages, who've got a decent budget, will come in and bid for him, and we'll get some money for him, which is all positive because we need every penny we can get at this stage. And if the board do hopefully use that money wisely and allow Clement to reinvest it, then we could get a couple of 3 players in before this transfer window closes. But I'll be honest with you, the news that Cantwell wants to go was a very clever strategy to divert from the fact that team performance last night was absolute shite. We were passed through like we weren't there. You watch that first half, Dion Sanderson and Bielik, their defenders, just came out, played straight through us, sailed past our front 4 like they weren't even there, came up virtually to our midfield 2 before they actually released the ball. They had free reign of that pitch. The movement and possession of Birmingham City was good. Don't get me wrong. They're a very good team in possession of the football. But the reason that they looked good was because we allowed them to look good. We allowed them to play through us. We gave them oceans of space. No one got stuck in. No one got close to them. And it's one of the big things that's missing. We're missing a 6 to go in there, tackle, turn over the ball, get stuck in. Battle, we looked better in the second half when Barron was playing there. I thought Barron did very well. He did stop them a great deal more than anyone else had. But there's still a fundamental weakness in this team in that position. Birmingham as well, our defence was absolutely shocking. You look at both the goals were basically defensive howlers. The first one, a corner. The defenders are rooted to the spot for the corner. James Tavernier stands there and lets it hit him. I think Tav was shocking in that game. I know it's his first game back, but if you look at a lot of the chances they generated, they came again from the right side of our defence because, surprise, surprise, their left winger was used to target our right back who can't fucking defend to save his life. And yet I got torrents of abuse for pointing that out on Facebook and on social media earlier from Rangers fans saying, how can you criticise Tav? He's the best player at the club. He's the best player. He's the best this. If he's the best player, we've got fucking huge issues. He was absolutely appalling. Really appalling. Again. And he's got to go. He has got to go. I'm sorry to say it. If you like James Tavernier, I'm sorry you like James Tavernier, but he's past it. He was a good servant. Yes, his numbers going forward are very good, and he cannot play right midfield. He's not fucking fast enough. So, look, the defence was poor. It was piss poor. The second goal, their striker was given the freedom of Birmingham to score, and they could have scored 3, 4, 5 goals before the first half was over. Because our defending was so shockingly bad. And what is worrying is it's largely the same defence as we had last season, and nothing has been done to it. And Ciala, we saw tonight, is a decent prospect, a good player probably, but he's not going to be ready yet. This defence needs a massive overhaul. And when are we going to do it? It's too late. We need players and we need them now. And I know, and I'm fed up. And yes, I know we need to sell players. And it looks like Goldson is off. We heard from Phil Clement before the game that Connor Goldson was released from the squad to be able to go and negotiate with a new team, which apparently might not necessarily be Aris Limassol. Something Phil Clement said about it being a lot closer than that. But he's obviously on his way out. Lammers is on his way out, so that frees up 2 spots. There's a potential, obviously, that Tav could be on his way out. That's 3 players. I think there could be 5, 6 players out, but it's all coming too slow. 1st of August is the deadline for the submission of the Champions League squad. Well, I think but anybody from Dynamo Kiev watching that game tonight will be rubbing their hands together with glee. Dynamo Kiev will rip us a new one. Anybody from Heart, if Stephen Naismith was sat watching that game tonight, he was probably rubbing his hands together with glee, if I'm being honest with you. The fact the season starts on the 3rd of August and this squad is nowhere near ready. And look, I know you can sit there all you want and say, well, this transfer window isn't closed to the 31st of August now, so we've still got plenty of time to sign players. Yes, but by the time the 31st of August comes, we'll then have Celtic the next day in the Old Firm, and 4 games will have gone, and we might well have already dropped some points, and we might already, after the 1st of September, be 6 points behind Celtic. And then you won't be happy. Because, we need time. We haven't got time. There's no such thing as having time. We said, didn't they? They said at the end of last season, we need to clear out players and we need to rebuild this squad and we need to get them in as soon as possible before the Champions League qualifiers. Failed. Yes, you might say I'm overreacting slightly. Perhaps I should have just stuck to the dead cat strategy and said about Todd Cantwell and left it at that, and Connor Goldson, and just completely, I think that was a great dead cat strategy, but even before the game about Connor Goldson to kind of divert attention away from how shit we'd been so far in pre-season. But what kind of tells me what is more concerning? Look, forget the results for a minute. Forget the fact we've lost 3 games. What you want to see in pre-season, and I don't want to hear it's just about getting minutes into legs and fitness. No, it isn't. As someone who coached football, it's not just about getting minutes into your legs and fitness. It's also about establishing patterns of play, establishing patterns of attacking play, establishing how to press as a team, establishing defensive patterns of play, establishing team shape, instituting tactics, sorting out set piece issues, planning set pieces, figuring set piece defensive patterns out. Have you seen any of that in those 3 games? Have you seen us move forward from last season in any of those areas? Because I haven't. Now, you can listen all you want to the happy clapping of Tom, the commentator, and I think it was Andy Little today, who second half talked utter shit for the entire second half about the caliber performance that they saw. I don't know what game they were watching. They must have been watching a rerun of an old Rangers game when we had some really top quality players. But, for me, it's not about just fitness and minutes in legs. It's about patterns of play, patterns of defensive play, patterns of set piece coverage, tactics, shape, all of that. And I can't see any. I sit and I took, if I try and it's really hard to do. If you take your blue head off for a minute and you look at it impartially as a coach, you can't see any. There's just isn't any. We didn't string 4 passes together for the whole of the first half. We don't attack with any speed. We don't move the ball with any quickness. We're disjointed going forward. We're hit and hope. We play long ball football. It's woeful. It's a fucking shambles. And I'm sorry to swear so much like I have this morning, but it's that bad. Genuinely bad. Guys, let me know what you think. You might think I'm completely off points, and if you do, you do. But I've listened to a number of podcasts last night. Rabble, Club at 22, and it all seems to be, they're all saying exactly the same. It's a shambles. It's not good enough. The performances were poor. There's no attacking play. There's no quality. There's no speed. There's no aggressiveness. All this. I think, if you are sitting there and you are seeing a team that has a good defensive pattern, has a good attacking pattern, and, plays good football, then you're probably not watching Rangers. You're watching something else. Guys, let me know what you think anyway. And as always, on the way out, please, 2 favours. Number 1, smash that like. And number 2, remember, always, we are the people.